Good evening. It is Thursday, August 20th, 6:40 p.m. We're looking at the latest SARS-2 news, the virus coming to us from the Chinese Communist Party. There is a lot to talk about. Today is a lot of news to share, so let's get comfy. What's new? So we're about to hit 23,800,000 deaths officially. Graphs turning into just what I said they were, slowly but surely. 266,000 new cases today. Number one, India with 68,000. USA second, 45,000. Brazil third, 44,000. Colombia fourth, 11,000. In terms of deaths, number one was Brazil with 1,234 deaths. USA 1,090 deaths. India 981 deaths, and then Mexico fourth, 707 deaths. All right, so now we will go. New Zealand is just, they're not, it's very interesting how New Zealand is taking their case, because they're very strict about it, to the point where it's almost draconian. Now, if we go to the U.S. state by state, number one is California with 6,000 new cases. Texas second, 5,000 new cases. Florida third, 4,000 new cases. Georgia fourth, 2,700 cases. In terms of deaths, Texas number one, 204 deaths today. California second, 135. Florida third, 118. Georgia fourth, 55 deaths. Now, of course it would, yeah, that's what I get for buying the cheapest phone possible. I'll have it where I want it to be, and then when I go to the tab, it reloads the website. Yeah. So we're going to catch up from yesterday and go into today. There's a lot, so just bear with me. Second wave in Spain. Spain has reported a jump in the number of SARS-2 deaths to levels not seen since May, and infections also rose as the pandemic's summer resurgence in the country gains pace. According to information from the European CDC and EU agency, the prevalence of SARS-2 in Spain is now significantly worse than anywhere else in Europe. Data that the agency published on Wednesday indicated that in the previous 14 days, Spain had reported about 131 new SARS-2 cases per 100,000 people, far more than any other country. Malta was the only other country with a ratio over 100. The high level in Spain also compared with a ratio of 43 in France and 21 in the UK. Madrid, a center of the outbreak in its worst moments in the spring, has once again become the focus in Spain, reporting more than 2,000 further cases on Wednesday, although regional authorities point out they are carrying out large-scale random tests in the capital, thus boosting the numbers. Unsurprisingly, young people socializing in and around bars, as well as by family gatherings, has surged the number of new cases. Second wave in Italy. Italy also broke a record for the most daily cases since it lifted its lockdown in May, according to The Guardian, with an increase of 642 confirmed SARS-2 cases. Italy is at a crossroads right now. If we do not apply containment measures and the numbers continue to rise, localized lockdowns will be required, Health Ministry advisor Walter Ricciardi told The Guardian. The University of Notre Dame on Wednesday reported at least 222 confirmed positive cases of SARS-2 on its campus, just 2 weeks into the fall semester. The university on Tuesday canceled all in-person classes and moved all instruction online for at least 2 weeks as it reevaluates its safety protocols. These new cases are coming in after many off-campus parties took place. More, Mexico moves to ban junk food sales to children, citing obesity as SARS-2 risk factor. With its Ley anti-chatarra and anti-junk food law, the southern state of Oaxaca, in a vote of 31-1, prohibited the sale of items such as chips, candy, soda, and other sugar-sweetened beverages to children under 18, putting these foods in the same category as cigarettes and alcohol. The law establishes fines, store closures, and jail time for repeat offenders. The ban also applies to vending machines in schools. 73% of Mexicans are considered overweight, 34% morbidly obese. Oaxaca, one of the country's poorest states, has one of the highest levels of obesity. Indigenous communities are exposed through predatory marketing practices and through the cheaper pricing of ultra-processed foods. The environment has made it really easy for children to have access to low-nutrient, high-calorie, ultra-processed foods, Perez Escamilla says. Japan's exports plunged 19.2% on July from a year earlier as the SARS-2 pandemic sapped global demand for goods from the third largest economy, government data showed Wednesday. The Finance Ministry's provisional numbers showed Japan's imports fell 22.3% in July. Los Angeles sees spike in reports of illegal dumping amid SARS-2 pandemic, data shows. LA City data shows requests to remove illegally dumped bulky and electronic waste as well as household appliances increased nearly 19% in the first 7 months of 2020. California teen William had to fight for his life after testing positive for SARS-2 a second time. The first time he would shiver and it was warm. He would shiver when it was warm, and then he would get hot when it was cold, and then the fever and the cough. It was horrible. After finally testing negative, his mom said he didn't appear as his regular self anymore the next 2 months. He lost 20 pounds also. Eventually, his feet swelled up, and he was taken back to the hospital. They explained to me that was a sign of heart failure, she said. After a false negative, he tested positive once more. His doctors told her he isn't contagious anymore, but is unsure exactly what happened. They found William had a hole in his heart, which the virus was preying on, as well as 2 heart valves on the verge of failure. Ika was rushed into surgery and now has a long road to recovery. He will have to take blood thinners for the rest of his life. Lebanon will impose a 2-week lockdown to contain a surge in SARS-2 infections following the devastating explosion of Beirut 2 weeks ago. Markets, shopping centers, gyms, and pools will have to close from Friday, and there will be an overnight curfew. Officials reported at least 456 new cases of SARS-2 and 2 deaths on Monday, and 421 cases on Tuesday. Health Minister Hassan has warned that hospitals are rapidly running out of space for new patients. The situation is unbearable, he said. 6 major hospitals and 20 clinics sustained partial or heavy structural damage as a result of the huge blast at Beirut's ports, which killed at least 178 people. Those medical facilities still functioning and field hospitals are treating thousands of patients for trauma and burns, as well as those more seriously injured. And an estimated 300,000 people were also left homeless by the blast. Many are now living in damaged buildings, temporary sites, or shared shelters, with limited access to water and sanitation. New Zealand on Thursday reported 5 new cases of SARS-2 in the last 24 hours as the Pacific nation battles a fresh outbreak in its biggest city of Auckland. An autopsy case suggesting direct infection of the renal tubular epithelium was reported. These reports indicate that SARS-2 RNA in the urine is infectious. In conclusion, our results suggest the SARS-2 RNA may be excreted in the urine depending on the severity of SARS-2. I made a typo there. New York. Governor Cuomo warns of coming second wave of SARS-2. The basic point is opening schools risky and problematic. That happens in September, Cuomo said. In September, the flu season starts. It's going to make it much harder to diagnose symptomatic people. It's going to really stress our testing capacity. That all happens in a matter of weeks. This is not over. The second wave is coming. It's going to be more challenging. That's why I get really annoyed when people from New York start praising how they've won, how they're in New Zealand now, especially a very particular Chinese doctor that won't shut up about it. They're not out of the woodwork yet, not even close. Doctors warn incoming seasonal flu will combine with SARS-2. People can get the flu and SARS-2 at the same time, and one can imagine how incredibly ill one can become having both diseases at the same time. They will have to get tested due to similar symptoms. Yeah, definitely. This is something that's been brought up way before. What's going to happen when SARS-2 combines with seasonal influenza? It's going to be a disaster. Tennessee teachers who have been exposed to SARS-2 allowed to return to class as long as they show no symptoms and wear a mask. Super spreader. Colorado, a Jefferson County juror who served at the courthouse on Monday informed court officials that they tested positive for SARS-2 on Tuesday. The first judicial district, in conjunction with the Jefferson County Public Health Department, has notified anyone who was in courtroom 3G on Monday about the positive case. Jury summons have been suspended for the rest of the week. Jury trials will resume on August 24. SARS-2 concerns prompt NFL to remove mascots, cheerleaders from sideline. Florida, 43 inmates test positive for SARS-2 at Seminole County Jail. First female Arkansas inmate dies of SARS-2. Arizona spokesperson pressed about hundreds of potential uncounted SARS-2 deaths in Arizona found by excess death numbers. I've talked about excess deaths various times. It would not surprise me if there are more excess deaths from SARS-2 than actual official SARS-2 deaths, especially in China. Detroit teachers authorized a potential strike over SARS-2 safety fears. The plan included online learning, smaller in-person class sizes, and daily safety protocols such as thorough cleaning, wearing masks, and social distancing. the district says. If we go online now and remain safe, we will be able to safely return to our classrooms and stay put in the building rather than risk outbreak after outbreak after outbreak, a teacher said. Will you be notified if SARS-2 spread at your child's school? It depends. Officials in the Canyon School District said Wednesday parents will receive notifications from their school if there are two cases of the virus in their child's classroom within a 2-week period. One case is not considered an outbreak. Only students deemed to have had close contact with an infected person will be notified of their potential exposure. Close contact is defined as having been closer to than 6 feet away from at least 15 minutes. 3 positive tests of SARS-2 will trigger a classroom quarantine in which all students and the teacher will be doing school from home for 14 days after the last exposure. 15 cases at one campus within a 2-week time frame would trigger a similar shift to digital learning for the entire school. The next few weeks are really going to be telling for what we're going to head into the following winter. It's going to be a dark winter. And then today, the French Health Ministry has reported 4,711 new SARS-2 infections over the past 24 hours, a new post-lockdown record, and a level last seen during the height of the epidemic in France. Germany confirmed 1,707 SARS-2 cases in the past 24 hours, the highest daily toll since April, official figures showed. India, the third worst affected country in the world, has reported a record number of cases of SARS-2. We saw earlier, it was at 68,000. Sometimes the numbers vary on different medias, by the way. South Korea has reported a 7th day of triple-digit cases, with infections growing outside Seoul. And I think it's tied once again to religious organizations. Some European countries, including Croatia, Slovenia, Malta, Austria, Hungary, France, and Greece, had increases of more than 70% during the week of 10-16 August, compared with the week before, according to the last weekly data from the European CDC. The most dramatic rise was in Croatia, I'm not sure I pronounced that, with a 174% increase in the rate of infections, from 7.8 cases per 100,000 to 21.5, while Slovenia increased to 102.6%, but from 3.7 to 7.4 cases per 100,000. Denmark, Switzerland, Italy, and Norway all had increases of between 46.9% and 59.4%. Travelers from the most popular tourist destinations out of the top 11 countries with large spikes in Europe have to self-isolate on their return to the UK. Study: not only are children quite capable of silently spreading SARS-2, they appear to be significantly more contagious than infected adults. Doctors say children who tested positive displayed much higher levels of SARS-2 in their airways than adult ICU patients. Open up the schools, by the way. 10 people who work at Massachusetts courthouse have tested positive for SARS-2, and the building will remain closed until further notice, according to a court official. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo on Wednesday dismissed criticism about his upcoming book centered around the SARS-2 pandemic, as the Sun called it inappropriate timing, the Associated Press reported. There is no dancing allowed in New York's bars and restaurants, even at a wedding reception. Somebody arguing outside. According to the New York State Liquor Authority, to control the spread of SARS-2, Governor Andrew Cuomo's Liquor Authority has also specifically banned darts, pool, cornhole, karaoke, and exotic dancing. Somehow, a place that allows customers to throw axes and drink beer is reopening Friday. There was no word from the Liquor Authority on how that fits into the safety protocols. Police and officials in Birmingham have warned the public to act now to avert a citywide lockdown as the number of people testing positive for SARS-2 in England rose 27% in a week, hitting its highest level since mid-June. Schools conducting virtual fire drills as SARS-2 keeps students home. They are showing us where to walk out of the building that we are not in right now, student says in a viral video. New York, SARS-2 cases surge at a nursing home in Essex County. Greece announces up to life in prison for violating SARS-2 quarantine rules. The Navy SEAL who claims he killed Osama bin Laden faced a possible ban in Delta Airlines after he tweeted a photo of himself failing to wear a mask, in contravention of airline policy that all passengers must use face coverings to fight the spread of SARS-2 on flights. The number of laid-off workers seeking U.S. unemployment benefits rose to 1.1 million last week after 2 weeks of declines, evidence that many employers are still slashing jobs as SARS-2 bedevils the economy. Armed reservist is 5th U.S. service member to die from SARS-2, military officials say. Airbnb on Thursday introduced a global party ban that prohibits parties on an event of all types at its listings worldwide and caps house occupancy at 16 people. The move, which Airbnb said aims to address continued public health concerns around the SARS-2 pandemic, comes just one day after the home rental company revealed that it had filed paperwork to go public. U.S. second senator tests positive for SARS-2. Several SARS-2 cases are linked to the Sturgis motorcycle rally, which was attended by hundreds of thousands, but the full impact may never be known. California, Los Angeles mayor shuts off power at Hollywood Hills house that hosted large parties. Orange County reports its first SARS-2 related death of a child. Age and identity were not released. LA County seeking penalties against Grace Community Church for breaking SARS-2 regulations, holding indoor services. I know that's a lot to take in. That's a lot. There's a lot happening. Even more happening as the pandemic continues. That's all I have for today, though. So I appreciate you guys watching, and remember, nobody really watches these videos that I make. So if you want to help me out, share it to a friend, share it to somebody. Maybe they will too. There's a lot of information that people should be looking at. Not. I mean, what can I do? I have nothing. I'm not on the. I don't have a platform. This is just me yelling at a wall screaming into the void for the most part. I'll see you next time.